We have an expert to join us tonight to give us some comments on the confirmation hearings in general and on this one in specific. He's Byron Henry. He's got his law degree cum laude from Texas Wesleyan University, and he's got so many credentials I don't have time to read them all here. His court admissions include the State Bar of Texas in 1998, Supreme Court of the United States, a U.S. Court of Appeals for the 5th District, U.S. District Court, North District of Texas, and the U.S. District Court, Eastern District of Texas. He has consented to give us a little bit of his time this evening, and we do appreciate it. Mr. Henry, thanks for being with us.
My pleasure, John.
How much of the hearings were you able to take in, or have you simply done, what a lot of us do and take snippets from them?
I've been able to see some of it live, and then I had a couple of my monitors on the live blog. When something came up that was really interesting or controversial, I'd try to get it live, so I was kind of following it on the computer, what they were asking about. So I got a pretty good bit of the meat of the session today.
With all of the controversy that has been ginned up, and I call it alleged controversy around Senator Jeff Sessions, who, in my opinion, is one of the, I wish everybody had his presence and his knowledge of what goes on in government and his experience for the position that he's going into. It seemed to take the people who tried to get to him, it seemed to me, weren't able to. Did you get that?
Well, that's kind of what I took away from it. First and foremost, it'd be very, very unlikely that a sitting senator, especially one that's been in the chamber for 20 years, not to be confirmed by the Senate or passed out by the Judiciary Committee. So that's first and foremost. But what's unfortunate about this is I share your view that he is a conservative senator. He's a solid public servant. I agree with him on a lot of things. The problem with the way that the left, especially some of the Democrats today and what is planned to happen tomorrow, have gone about attacking Senator Sessions, the alleged controversy, is that by accusing him of being a racist, the person who basically they've served with for decades and sponsored bills with, sat on committees with, congratulated, had dinner with, and done all the things they've done with, is it obscures some really good questions that both sides would have for the top law enforcement official in the United States. And so instead of the show about trying to turn him into somebody who won't follow the law or who is too conservative or who's a racist, we didn't get the really tough questions that some libertarians want to ask about marijuana use, or some conservatives want to ask about asset forfeiture, or others want to ask about enforcement of gun laws. Really important questions for a nominee to the Attorney General spot. Instead, what you get is speeches and a sideshow trying to either trip him up or make him look bad by pulling snippets out of context from his distinguished service record as Attorney General of Alabama, Senator, and now nominee to be Attorney General of the United States.
One of the people whom he's sponsored bills with, had dinner with, and has been very cordial with throughout his career at the Senate is a guy by the name of Cory Booker, and Cory Booker is going to take him on head on and try to destroy him tomorrow. What's with that?
Well, Cory Booker is obviously a senator, a sitting senator, and supposedly from reports, I can't state this as fact, but reports say it would be the first time in history that a sitting senator would testify against a sitting senator for a cabinet position. All I can say is that he's praised Senator Sessions in the past when Senator Sessions is on committees and taking the bull by the horn, so to speak, on these bills and co-sponsoring legislation with people. No one has ever mentioned or ever derided or otherwise said we can't have Senator Sessions working on this, we can't have him doing X, Y, or Z because he's a racist, because he doesn't care about civil rights, because he doesn't care about women. That has not been an issue. It's purely political here and purely partisan, which is a shame, because there are some real tough questions that you can ask Senator Sessions about some of his past views and how he would run the office of the Attorney General, what his focus and priorities would be, without turning it in, like I said before, into a sideshow where you just basically trot out the racist card and hope that it sticks. And I think Chuck Grassley, the chair of the committee, said it best when he basically said during the break that he's answering it transparently, he's doing a wonderful job, and I don't expect him to have any problem being confirmed as Attorney General based on what I heard today.
Who do you think in the list of people who are going to face this committee, who do you think is going to be the least popular? Who's gonna take the most heat and runs the best chance of not being confirmed?
I suspect that Secretary of Education DeVos is going to face a very tough confirmation, simply because of her general views, which basically strike at the heart of the sacred cow of the left, and that is, insulating teachers in public schools from scrutiny or the possibility of competition with the private sector through vouchers or some sort of any type of planned charter schools, which takes out of the coffers of administration and public schools. I suspect she's going to have a tough confirmation. And I'll be honest, I think the Secretary of State nominee, Rex Tillerson, is going to face tough questions from both the left and the right as Secretary of State. I think that his record at Exxon is mixed. I think that some on the right have problems that he's socially progressive, which matters with the Secretary of State when you're dealing with other countries. I think some on the left have a problem with him being a big oil CEO, basically champion fossil fuels, as well as his comfy relationship supposedly with Russian President Vladimir Putin doing deals with Russia and other states. I think that he's going to face some really tough scrutiny. So those are just two off the top of my head, I think, that are going to have some problems.
Well, I congratulate you on being able to pronounce Betsy DeVos's name. They've been mispronouncing it on the major news networks, and many of the senators have actually mispronounced her name, so congratulations on doing that. I know her not well, but I've been in meetings with her. I don't think she's going to have a problem holding her own, so I hope that those who would badmouth her or try to get her to jump off point are prepared, because they've got a formidable adversary there. And
yeah, I think the other possibility on that list is, and I forget his name now. I apologize. There's so many names going through my head, but the Labor Department head could be an issue. Mainly, he is a very free market individual. He's a franchisor. He basically believes in free markets, and we know we've had this Uber issue and a lot of independent contractor issues where the federal government is basically, it seems like, trying to destroy the franchise relationship between some of the biggest franchisors in the country, such as McDonald's, Burger King, Hardee's, and being the CEO of Hardee's International, I think that there's a real strong chance that he is going to have a rough go of it. But I do expect him to be confirmed, as with future Secretary DeVos.
And I really hope that the role that franchising has played in the success of the United States of America comes front and center for all to see, because people I don't think fully understand the amount of livelihood that is created by the whole franchise system. Do you agree with that?
Well, it's not only whether you agree with whether or not McDonald's corporate should be considered separate and apart from its franchises or franchisees. That's settled law. Just think of how it would upset the economy of the United States if all of a sudden, such as in President Obama's case, you just had a Labor Department which came out with new rules or new interpretations on rules that says we're going to treat the franchisor and the franchisee as one and the same. I mean, that would upset decades of settled law and settled business practices by individuals, small businesses, as well as large corporations, with how they deal with these companies and how they're structured. I mean, you just can't come in and with a stroke of the pen, change the entire setup for franchises in the United States. And that's stability is one thing these companies need. And I hope that the new Department of Labor Secretary, if confirmed, which I believe he will be, will restore some sanity to that area so that we don't have an upset of settled practices and settled understandings of how franchises work.
Well, we're going to be calling on you again as these hearings progress, and I really appreciate your time. One thing you could clear up for me: how in the world does somebody in a Klan uniform get into one of these hearings?
You could also ask yourself, how does a group of congressmen hang a portrait in the gallery of the House of Representatives, which have police officers depicted as pigs?
Yeah, the day after a black police officer is killed.
Yeah, that it seems to me not only reprehensible and wrong, but even if you don't want to talk about morally objectionable, how about just politically stupid? I mean, you don't want Klan members in your hearings, and you don't want, or people dressed as Klan members in your hearings, and you don't want to detect law enforcement officers right after a law enforcement appreciation day as pigs. But it just seems like sometimes the left is blinded by the way these optics play in Middle America, and certainly it won't play well down here in Texas. And I suspect that it was not any of the Republican members of the committee or their staffs that managed to turn a blind eye to people dressing up as Klan members and coming into a hearing room.
Well, again, I appreciate your time. I think I have figured out one of the reasons that the left has gone so apoplectic with this election, and I'm going to share it with the audience, and I'm going to be doing that in the next few minutes. But right now I'm going to end this portion of it, and again, by thanking you very much for your insight into the hearings and your predictions. And again, let's talk again later on in the hearings, and we'll see what transpires.
Happy to do so. Thank you.
All right, thank you. And that, again, is Byron Henry. We'll give his contact information, a website, and so forth up on our Facebook page for those of you who wish to communicate.